Okay, we are back from our lunch break, and we are continuing our October 10th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting. We are now going to take departmental number 2 contracts that meet the threshold for board approval, $1 million or greater. There is one item that we will be discussing, and it'll be presented by Ms. Christy Brotherton. Ms. Brotherton, good afternoon. You are recognized.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Christy Brotherton for the record. We have one contract for your consideration, which is a continuing services contract for plumbing services and repairs. This contract has a maximum not to exceed value of $1.5 million with a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to Eccles Plumbing and Air Conditioning and South Florida Plumbing and Electric, which is doing business as the plumbing company, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And that concludes this item.
That's fantastic. Well done.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. And we have a motion by Commissioner Hurd to accept staff's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Ms. Manning, you have two choices. You can either go now, or we only have one other item other than yours. So if we take Mr. Mail now, you could be the final agenda item of the day on your
Are you crazy?
final day.
I want out.
No, thank you.
Doing it now.
Okay, then.
The commissioners, right?
I'm trying to be benevolent, which is,
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, oh, you can retire now or, do the
what?
agenda item, whatever. Okay.
Probably in a posture she could say, I don't.
yeah, throw the thing at us. We will continue now with departmental number 1, Office of Management and Budget items which require board approval. We heard number 2 already. We have 11 others, and it will be presented beautifully by Miss Jennifer Manning.
At least hopefully, right? Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jennifer Manning, OMB Director. The first item number 1 is Human Services requesting permission to apply for funding from Florida Department of Children and Families for mental health program. The program includes case management services, housing assistance, and treatment services. The grant amount is $400,000 and has no match. We'll skip over number 2. Item number 3 is permission to apply for the U.S. Department of Transportation Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods grant. The amount is $1.8 million. The funds will be used for study design and engineering of pedestrian bike access across 2 high-speed Bright Line rail line. And they're looking to do 2 overpasses in for east to west movement for households in Golden Gate and Port Salerno. There is no match required for this grant. Item number 4 is permission to apply for the FY24 Innovative Technologies for Pharmaceuticals Grant for Tropical Farms Advanced Wastewater Treatment Pilot Program through FDEP. The pilot project is designed to eliminate contaminants of emerging concerns in the wastewater, including pharmaceuticals. The grant amount is $800,000. It requires a $200,000 match, which is programmed in the Utilities and Solid Waste CIP. Item number 5 is permission to accept a small county outreach grant through FDOT for construction and construction engineering inspection at the Northeast Jensen Beach Boulevard, County Road 723 Northeast Savannah Road to Indian River Drive, Revenue Road I created. Okay, the grant amount is up to 75%, which is $534,000. Item number 6 is permission to accept the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement for airfield signage replacement. The grant award is $80,000. It requires a $20,000 match, which is programmed in the Airport Enterprise Funds. Item number 7 is permission to accept another FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement for Building Number 29 and 30 roof replacement. The grant amount is $400,000, requires $100,000 match, which is also programmed in the Airport Enterprise Funds. Item number 8 is permission to accept FY23 State Water Quality Assistant Grant for East Fork Creek Stormwater Treatment Area Phase 2. The grant amount is $600,000, requiring a $600,000 match, which is budgeted in the ecosystem of CIP. Item number 8 is permission to accept the State Housing Initiative Partnership Funds for low and moderate income households with housing, which will help them with housing rehabilitation, home demolition and replacement, as well as emergency repairs, down payment assistance, sewer and water hookups. The grant amount is $1.5 million. Item 10, permission to accept the Edward Byrne Memorial Assistant Grant for $29,000 to offset the cost for Martin County Sheriff's Office's traffic unit. Item number 11 is another, this is for the E911 program. It's a permission to accept the E911 state grant for GIS repository, and the grant amount is $125,988, and it requires no match. Item number 12 is just a request an adjustment to the budget for the Manatee Pocket Mooring Field. We're requesting to allocate $153,000 in anticipated revenue, as well as $153,000 in anticipated expense. We're saying that we're estimated that the operational cost will only be about $95,350. And that concludes my presentation.
Yes, it does.
Thank you. All right.
Give her a plaque. Oh, sorry. Already did.
No problem.
Move
One
approval
more
of the
time.
remainder of the items. Is this your last meeting? Are you going to be at
No,
the
I
next one?
think I may have another one.
Good.
Oh, then I take back all the kind things I said. Until next time.
Until next time, yeah.
All right, so it's not as historic. Does someone want to second it?
I'll second it.
Did you?
I did, but that's okay.
No, I will, I accept. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 1 second, please.
Before we go on to the
Commissioner
next,
Hurd.
it's not for you, Jennifer.
Oh, sorry.
At lunch, I was at the intersection of Indian and US 1, and I was westbound, and I was the first person in line westbound, and I went through 5, 6 cycles of the signal changing, and I never got a green light. Is there a number you can call when the lights are misfunctioning like that? A non-emergency light, number that you can call?
Jim, give your cell phone number for everybody to call.
Oh, it's your number?
Jim Gordon, Public Works Director. Our traffic division, we have technicians that are out in the field at all times during the day, and they would be the ones to reach out to. I will provide you with that number. I don't have it memorized.
Okay.
What about your cell?
It's broken, because I was in the same spot, not turning left, I was in the right lane, because I want to turn north on US 1, and I was backed up all the way to the railroad tracks, and it took 5 or 6 cycles for
Oh,
me to even get out there.
finally, after sitting there for 15 minutes not moving, I turned right. I turned north also.
We'll look into it today and see what's going on.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Good idea.
Our next
Why he's
item
the
is
department.
departmental number 3, the fiscal year '24 water quality project update. It'll be presented by Mr. John Mayle. Mr. Mayle, good afternoon. You are recognized.
Good afternoon, Chair, County Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, it's John Mayle. I am your Ecosystem Division Manager, and I get to work with the best team in the county. It's the only reason I'm here.
Just in the county?
Okay, I'll let you say it.
South Florida?
Come on, we can,
State?
there we go. Wait till we're done, then you can comment on it.
Works with the best people that are within earshot.
Yeah, exactly. So this presentation was requested to provide an update on current water quality projects, and I took a little liberty to contextualize that with, what, just a kind of a very high level, what is the problem? Why would we care? And what we have done as a county to address it in the past. That brings us to today and the current projects that we're working on. So I'll pose this as a question. Does anybody want to hazard a guess what the population of Florida was in 1923?
5,000.
No more than that.
More than that. I'll give you a hint. You can round it to a million.
Million.
A million. So in 2023, you probably all know what the population is.
120.
About 23 million, so the math is pretty easy. We've increased by 22 million in that 100 years, which equates to a little bit more than a Port St. Lucie every year for 100 years. That's a lot of people in an environment that was fairly inhospitable to that many people. So in the 20s and 30s, there were some significant tropical storm events that brought to light the need to provide some kind of massive drainage and flood protection project. And Congress in 1948 awarded a project that at the time was the largest infrastructure project in the nation to create thousands of miles of canals and levees and structures to provide that flood protection and make the land inhabitable for 3 million people at the time. Today, that same system, more or less, provides that same protection for over 8 million people. And to its credit, it does that very well. One of the unintended consequences, though, was the impact it would have on the ecosystem where it was built. And as early as 1948, they were already kind of identifying some of those concerns and problems, the impact of that many people and that much drainage in the system would have on all manner of ecosystems. And here we are, still working on that issue. At the end of the day, these discussions often result in a lot of finger pointing. But one of my favorite new phrases is, what is the problem? I am the problem. Wherever you have humans, you have people eating. So you have produce and farms creating that. You have the consequences of eating that have to be managed. You have people living on permeable surfaces. I have a roof over my home. I have a driveway in my yard. My kids go to a school that have lots of impervious surfaces. They play on ball fields that require management. All of those things are opportunities for pollutants to be discharged into our surface waters and impact the most critical foundational element of any ecosystem, and that's water quality. So why do we care? I think that's a fairly obvious question to most of us, but it's worth identifying, I think, again, at least at a very high level. I've started coining the phrase, it's been a couple of years now, that we live in the Central Park of the Lower East Coast. A smart growth management philosophy or managed growth in our county, in contrast to what's happened in other parts of the Lower East Coast, have resulted in what really is a vestige of open space and green space in an otherwise highly urbanized area. And in that green space, we have incredible diversity of flora, fauna, geology. You can catch largemouth bass, record largemouth bass on the shores of Lake Okeechobee, and on the other side of the county, catch sailfish that people travel from all over the world to embrace. And you can see spoonbills, you can see alligators. We've got pine flatwoods, and we've got coral reef. It's really an incredible ecosystem that we have preserved, and it's certainly worth continuing to fight for. Another phrase I've started to use, it's a living museum of natural history right here in our backyard. So if we're going to be part of the problem, I think we're all vested in becoming part of the solution too. So what has Martin County done for people to live in that ecosystem without hurting it, or to even maybe be part of the solutions in that ecosystem? it's really proud for me to stand on the shoulders of people who've come before me and done incredible work. The board's support for over 2 decades in bringing about some incredible accomplishments in making our human interface with the ecosystem symbiotic. First off on the list is we've done to date 42 stormwater treatment projects. Largely those can be defined by the county going into neighborhoods that were developed before our current robust stormwater standards. Maybe they were built on agriculture drainage, which is insufficient for the impervious surfaces that a neighborhood would bring, and also contributes pretty significantly to pollutants to the river and estuary. So those projects were geared towards going into those neighborhoods, retrofitting them to improve the conveyance, to provide better level of service and flood protection, as well as significantly reducing the nutrients that those neighborhoods were discharging. We've done 42 of those. We've got a whole bunch more queued up that we'll talk about in a little bit. Collectively, we estimate that that's reduced 70,000 pounds of nitrogen and 15,000 pounds of phosphorus, treating 15,000 acres of the local basin with a commitment of over $150 million, which I know our division is very proud to advertise that we tend to set as an objective a minimum of 50% match dollars in federal and state funding. And our track record has met that. We're actually doing better than that now because there's a lot more money than there used to be. And then you can't talk about water quality without celebrating that the county has preserved, in partnership with the state, over 70,000 acres of natural lands, which provides reduced runoff, it provides aquifer recharge, it provides incredible habitat, recreation, and all those things. Another accomplishment is that the county, the board has directed staff to have an advanced and continuously updated integrated pest management plan that, in a nutshell, directs us to put the right plants in the right places and to use absolute minimum amounts of chemicals to take care of that vegetation. We have a fertilizer ordinance that we believe makes great sense. It helps encourage and educate the public on how to manage their lawns in a water quality friendly way. Our septic to sewer program is leading the state in its aggressiveness and its accomplishment. Our utilities section has done a remarkable job of making great progress on that, and we have eliminated 70 package wastewater treatment plants in the county. 59 of those were identified as significant pollutant contributors to the river. These are things to be celebrated, and on top of all of that, each of you have, and as a board collectively, have written countless resolutions, letters, made visits to Tallahassee and Washington to advocate for funding for our local projects, funding for regional projects, and progress on those regional solutions that help to address the ecosystem problems of our drainage system. So what's next? We've got 8 projects that I want to touch on today. Many of these you'll recognize. Maybe some of them are new to you. And then it would take all day to talk about all the little things that the folks in the ecosystem team are working on. Some stuff probably that goes beyond my ability to explain, frankly, but really cool stuff. So we'll start with Coral Gardens. This is an existing STA that is at the intersection of, if you were able to get through that light, Commissioner Hurd, and go a little bit further to Canner, on your left, there's a couple of stormwater features there. One of them was built as a neighborhood retrofit about 15 years ago, I believe. And adjacent to it directly is a stormwater detention, dry detention facility that was built as a separate project for the Indian Street expansion. We identified an opportunity there to combine those two functions, and it's a clear case where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. By combining those two and making them hydrologically connected and doing some excavation in the existing dry retention cell, and then raising the weir to increase storage in the existing stormwater treatment area, we're increasing our capacity from 8 acre feet to 22 acre feet, and we're going to get a significant pollutant reduction benefit from that project. It also involves some new vegetation, and then it'll be the first of hopefully a program of looking at our conveyance systems as an opportunity to provide water quality treatment. So the conveyance ditch that is immediately upstream of that STA, that is going to be in the footprint of this project, and we're going to start to implement some technologies in that substrate management and vegetation and contouring that will help to provide some pre-filtering within the conveyance system before it gets to the STA. You all have probably heard of the Southwest Prong Manatee Pocket, maybe more than you care to have heard about it. This was a 5-year effort on a very particular land acquisition challenge. The project really had to happen in this spot, and staff were able to negotiate a very creative solution. However, creativity tends to be challenging in government bureaucracy, and so it required a momentous amount of energy and commitment from staff and lots of different departments to get this project to the point where it is, where we are nearly complete with design and hope to start construction within this fiscal year. This project is also going to almost be a showcase of different best management practice treatment train. There's within a very small footprint, we're going to have a pond, if you will, lake. There'll be a diversion weir, a wetland, an upflow filter using kind of new technology for treating nutrients in a very small footprint, and a whole bunch of exotic removal. It should be a very attractive place. We're looking for opportunities to create some recreational opportunity in that area. It's challenging because of how small the footprint is, but that's a project we're just about ready to see turning dirt on. It's exciting. The Cypress Creek Floodplain Restoration Project, we often focus a lot of our attention on the St. Lucie River, as we should, but we also have a historic, wild and scenic river in south of the county, the Loxahatchee, and the county has a remarkable record of leading in the restoration effort in that, and advocacy for the SERP project and the design of the SERP project, and our staff, particularly Mike Houston, has come up with a lot of great ideas and seen projects through on this one. This is the next one, and what it's going to do is rehydrate a large historic cypress floodplain that is transitioning from a cypress floodplain because it no longer gets inundated nearly enough. At the same time, that will also help with the overall objective of the Loxahatchee to provide those minimum flows and levels in the dry season to keep that salinity barrier downstream where it ought to be, so you don't have cypress transitioning to mangroves. So this will be part of that solution, and that one is we've already got $1.5 million in grants. We're in the design phase, and there'll be some logistics with working with our co-owners of that property at the Water Management District that we're working through, and with the state park. Next project is,
Sir.
yes, sir.
Mr. Donaldson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that project, I'm convinced that if it wasn't our staff being involved in it, they wouldn't even consider permitting that for anybody else in the state. It's a very challenging construction project in the middle of in a floodplain that's linked to a wild and scenic river. Pretty amazing that, the reception that Mike and John's staff have gotten to get it to this point, and it's really a great project, but it's not for the weak to even attempt it. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, County Administrator. Actually, as I was looking through this list this week, it occurred to me we don't do anything easy anymore. I don't know if we ever did easy stuff, but none of this is easy. So this project actually just acquired a new title because it's evolved so much. Originally this project was our Hog Creek stormwater treatment area. Hog Creek has been identified and measured as probably our highest phosphorus contributor in the local basin. So we have for years been pursuing some kind of opportunity for a project in Hog Creek. And thanks to some really robust modeling effort that Stormwater provided, And some of our own analysis, we were able to kind of discern that there's an opportunity with the contours in this area to send some of this Hog Creek water to Map Creek, where we have capacity and we have opportunities for providing that treatment. In the Map Creek Preserve, which is kind of in the north center of that map, just south of Interstate 95, there's an area of disturbed upland which would be appropriate for the development of a stormwater treatment area. There's a significant drainage ditch that runs along the south side of that we have some opportunity for in-conveyance ditch work to provide that water quality and capacity. And so this project has kind of evolved from Hog Creek up into Map Creek, but capturing and blending both basins. And then just recently, we've identified a potential opportunity to divert some Danforth Creek water into this as well to help alleviate some of the stage and duration of water levels in Danforth Creek. This is all in conceptual design at this point, but we're pretty excited about a significant project solving lots of problems.
It'll now be called the Mayho Creek.
No comment.
Well, it's sort of like Soho. It's Mayho.
That's why you make the big bucks, commissioners, the creativity you bring.
Yeah, right. I'm not the one doing the presentation.
Yeah. So the next project is a familiar name we talked about today. This would be Phase 2 of the East Fork Creek Stormwater Treatment Area. You've all probably seen the Phase 1 project. It's very nearly complete. It's probably not fair to say we're on punch list items, but we're circling around that. And Phase 2 is funded. The land has been worked out. It was a DOT right-of-way that Real Property helped to get transferred to us. And the Phase 2 is going to involve a 700-acre lake and our 700-foot-long lake. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And a 1,500-foot-long retention area that will help polish up the water that before it continues down East Fork Creek through Mariner Sands and ultimately to the Manatee Pocket. Those numbers for nitrogen and phosphorus reduction are for the complete project. So this is really just finishing up, and like I said, it's funded and ready for construction.
Can we interrupt, or do you want to just?
Please, no, let's make it a conversation.
So, earlier this year, there was some local commentary about some flooding in that neighborhood, and I brought this up this morning when we were talking about Palm City. Did this address dealing with a lot of that?
This is modeled to demonstrate improvement in flood protection. To what extent? I mean, if you have a 15-inch rain, you're probably still going to have some challenges in that basin, but this does help.
Thank you.
And it certainly attenuates flows downstream with that much storage naturally. So the Kitching Creek Eastern Flowway project is one you've also heard about a fair bit. Another challenging land acquisition, fitting a lot into a small area, but desperately needed, and there's incredible benefits that could be achieved from this. The objective ecologically is to rehydrate hundreds of acres of old cypress between kind of south between Flora and Powerline Avenue in Jonathan Dickinson State Park. There used to be really three flowways that sheet flowed into Kitching Creek, the historic winding Kitching Creek that feeds, it's a major tributary to the North Fork of the Loxahatchee. That has really been confined to one central flowway. And so in the central flowway along Kitchen Creek Road, which clearly has nothing to do with Kitching Creek, it's created a very flashy system in there that is challenging to provide the flood protection level that we'd like to in that area. So this solves two problems by diverting some of the water that would go to that central flowway over to the eastern flowway and rehydrates hundreds of acres of historic cypress. This is a project that's kind of new to Martin County. Frankly, it's new to everybody. And there's an increasing interest in having partners in seagrass restoration, so much so that a couple of years ago when I challenged our team to engage in an active seagrass restoration element. And in Martin County, several agencies are like, we'll help you with that, because they're looking for people that want to get into the water and work on this. So right off the bat, we got a $250,000 grant from the Environmental Protection Agency, which we've largely focused that on this first project, which is, I would call it a study. We have identified a whole bunch of different learning objectives in this project that are geared towards identifying what's suitable habitat for natural recruitment of seagrass. We've been doing water quality analysis. We've been doing sediment quality analysis. We've been doing surveys for clams in the sediment. We've been looking at the relationship that Lyngbia, which is a bacteria that we find everywhere we have seagrass meadows, we're finding this Lyngbia attaching to it. And we believe it's, I don't know if it's completely scientific to call it a parasitic relationship, but it's certainly not helpful. Staff have identified that it is contributing to hypoxia, which is building up hydrogen sulfide in the soil. And so they're looking at, they've discovered this, what's called a leucinid clam that says there's symbiotic bacteria attached to it that digests that sulfide and helps make the soil suitable again for seagrass. So they really have dove into this and come up with some really, really good thorough analysis of what kind of habitat do we need to have a healthy seagrass restoration. The next project was made possible by a grant from the FWC that was 100% funded, where we are going to take the Florida Oceanographic Society's existing ad hoc seagrass nursery and volunteer base, and we're going to industrialize that. The design's complete. We're ready to break ground on building them an industrial seagrass nursery to make the capacity for future projects as we get the train leaving the station on this. And then the last project, we became aware of a partner who had secured a large grant to do 100 acres of seagrass restoration, just seagrass plantings. And we were able to negotiate getting 20 acres of that 100 acres right here in Martin County. So we're in the process of identifying where that would be, and we're hoping that we would be putting plants in the water in the spring of 2024. All of these were done with very minimal funding from the county. You might even just call it seed money.
Ba-dum-bum.
It's late in the day.
I got it.
The seagrass restoration effort has got everyone pretty excited. One of the objections to us taking that on was, of course, why would you invest in this until the water quality is right? Well, we are optimistic enough in the progress of those solutions that we need to start learning how to do this well now, so that when that day comes, which is within sight, we're ready to hit the ground running and maybe have already made some progress in this area.
Commissioner Smith.
Are you done?
No,
Oh, sorry, I put you on.
It's okay.
I can be if you want.
No.
So the last one is just a comment about our water quality monitoring program. A few years ago, we were able to get out of the blocks with about $100,000 a year on doing some very targeted monitoring to identify, to help us to create a better stormwater needs analysis. And so that data is helping us to really refine where we choose our next projects, where the low-hanging fruit is, where the best bang for our buck is, and also helping us to engineer the best solutions, because there is no one-size-fits-all for water quality treatment. Every feature needs to be designed around the particular cocktail that is feeding that facility, even to the point where we're looking at older stormwater treatment areas and looking at their effectiveness, pulling some sediment sampling to see what's happened since they were built, what kinds of ways we could improve those to make them functioning again, and particularly in neighborhoods where we're doing aggressive septic to sewer conversion, that particular cocktail of drainage is going to change in its ingredients. And What do we need to do to prepare for that so that what's coming after the septic to sewer is the best fit for treating that particular pollutant load? One monitoring project that's very exciting is something we've been doing in Golden Gate to really prepare to document the empirical benefits of a septic to sewer program in a confined neighborhood. So we had the luxury of monitoring there for 3 years before the project. And fortunately, we've had a remarkable connection rate, and we expect by the end of this year to have, for all intents and purposes, a complete connection to the system. And so then going forward, we'll be able to monitor what happens with that runoff after that septic to sewer is completed. It's surprisingly probably going to be a benchmark for other communities. We did a deep dive at Don Donaldson's request into what people have done to study the empirical benefits for nutrient reduction with septic to sewer. And surprisingly, there wasn't really good modeling or monitoring or science that definitively demonstrates that. And so this process, this effort that we're doing with utilities, it's thorough. We're using ARC inlet modeling. The DEP is well aware of it. We expect to probably provide the benchmark for that analysis. So that's exciting. We're also we've applied for a grant with the EPA. If we're unsuccessful with that, we've got one queued up ready to go to the DEP for an additional $500,000 with our $100,000 match to do a whole lot more sediment sampling out in the estuary to kind of try and understand what the effects of releases through the SADR, how far does that transmit downstream, where do we have the most muck and what's persisting in that soil, and we're going to learn a whole lot about that. We're working with Harbor Branch on that. I'm excited about what we're going to learn from that and how that informs our advocacy and our future projects. And one last thing on the water quality monitoring, we're working with UF on a historic wetland mapping and to kind of capture in an empirical sense what the land use change has been in Martin County, and that will help to inform where we need to address problems and what we can do next. So with all that, just I guess another 30,000-foot conclusion. The county is remarkably proactive and has been a leader in addressing local issues while at the same time advocating and partnering with the state and the federal government to deal with the regional issues. We have a new lake schedule that we expect sometime here in the near future. Fortunately, it really appears that for all intents and purposes, the Corps is implementing that schedule as much as possible. It's worth saying that had we been operating under the historic use of lures, 2023 would have been another lost summer. Almost certainly. And we really haven't had any discharges. It's right there, like we need the rain to stop, but we've probably passed the peak cyanobacteria period and have avoided another a year, largely in part because they've been employing the principles that they've learned from the LOSM process with their flexibility of lures. And then our public is just so much more aware. I give credit to our team for the work they've been doing with Water Ambassadors, Beef Floridian Now, but also just I think that culturally our community has embraced this concept and learned about these issues and challenges and what they can do to be a part of the solution. So I think the future is bright for us. That's all I have.
Ending on a very high note. Commissioner Smith, your turn.
You never cease to amaze. So can you go back to prior slide? Whoop, nope, that one there. So one thing that just ended up, I start off on making some notes and things about what I'd like to say, and then you end up on another slide that kind of takes me in a different direction. For all the conversation that we had this morning about our CRA program and who voted for what, who didn't vote for what, what's interesting about the CRA program is some of these more difficult but also important projects find ourselves in the middle of our CRAs. And if it weren't for having and I would argue the program, the advocacy of our community groups that are within the CRA, really pushing for us to get it better, these things probably wouldn't have happened in the way that they are happening. Enough of that. Two other thoughts. One, I think I'll talk about the spending and the focus on staff. There in recent months, there has been a lot of discussion about our budget and how we build our budget, how much we spend in our budget, how much we spend on our staff, to the presentation that we get from our staffs. And I don't care if it's fire rescue, I don't care if it's the sheriff's department, which really isn't our staff, but it's staff of the county, to ecosystems, to our administrative budget staff. This morning's discussion about retirement. We have incredible talent. And John, you have in your realm of what we do in this county and this community have really stepped up and taken from what Gary Roderick and Paul Millar started with us 25 years ago, have taken those very early stormwater projects and package plant removals that we were ordered to take out, but we took them out anyway. Sometimes in my district, they were somewhat controversial because they were in well-established neighborhoods that, but they weren't functioning, they weren't doing their job, and they've been converted for years. And to the benefit of our community and to the water quality, it's a remarkable story. And I'm glad you kind of did a little bit of the historical overview of it all, which then leads me to the third part of my comments, that 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I asked our staff back then to put a video together, a video, I guess, of what we had done and what we had accomplished. I think it's time to update it and redo it. I remember we had 2 speakers come in, which was really, for me, the inspiration to ask our staff to do that work in the first place. We had one individual come in from Palm City and said, "Hey, boy, that project in Palm City, Ed, is great. It's fantastic what you've done, but you need to do a whole bunch more." And I don't think that individual knew at the time that there were some 30 at that time, 38, 40 projects worth that had been done. And that's partly because we don't really do a great job of telling our story, which is what you're doing today. I would argue that this is probably some of the most comprehensive idea thinking, project thinking, implementation of all things water. And that's what I use at the state when we're talking about our hopefully to come this session, a statewide policy on all things water. But I would take what you just shared with us, John. I would envelop it into the story that we told 3 or 4 years ago. I would put video to it. I would put the physical sites. I mean, the images on the screen are great, but take some drones out there and do some drone footage so people can really get a sense of how big these things are. Like the East Fork Creek project, it's not that you can't tell when you drive by on US 1 how big it is, but it really is spectacular. The connections to Kitchen Creek and the capacity and the scale at which those projects are spectacular. The upstream potential that it's in Harold's district, that if we can tie all of those pieces together with some recent private land acquisition projects, is just another world-class opportunity that you guys are working on. And I would share it with NACO. I mean, I chaired last year our Environment, Energy, and Land Use Committee for our National Association of Counties, and it's the committee for our national association that deals with all of our environmental stuff. And I don't know that I've ever heard a presentation as comprehensive, as in-depth, as detailed as what you just gave on a national scale. There are projects, there is like a standalone something, but you just covered the full gamut of everything that you could ever probably want to deal with in all things water, and it's happening in this little county. And I think that's on national scale level. I really do. You have elevated this thing, you and your staff have elevated this thing to a gold standard that I would challenge anybody out there to do. And that's worth bragging about. And so I think that, if we can redo that video, Don, I think it's worth submitting to NACO and showing them what can be done if you have the right staff. If you pay for the right staff, you've got to equally have investment in your staff. There's another county in our general vicinity we talk about a lot that'll go nameless, and I think one of the reasons why we're so much further ahead is because we have for decades invested in good staff. And that presentation, just like Jennifer's retirement this morning, and just like every other presentation we get, is testament to why our budget is the way it is and what we fund and what we were able to accomplish. Good for you, John. That was a home run in the seventh inning or the ninth inning of the seventh game of the World Series.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have to, I'm very grateful for your remarks, but the credit all goes to the staff. As you know, I'll say, I love football illustrations, if you would suffer me this.
Don't talk about the Patriots. That's not worth it.
Okay, I won't go there. There's a young man in San Francisco who is throwing pigskins, and he's had a remarkable story, but he was the last draft, right? He was Mr. Irrelevant was the name that it goes to the last draft. If he were playing for, I'm going to use Chicago,
Oh, George, where are you?
no one would know his name, right? He's surrounded by all-stars in San Francisco, and that's truly my story. I'm surrounded by all-stars.
Yeah, but John, honestly, it's okay to take credit. Like the quarterback, having all-stars surrounding him, you still got to be an all-star. Tom Brady was one of the best, by far, all-time quarterbacks in history. But he also had some remarkable players, as you just said, play around him. But if you didn't have Tom Brady, it still wouldn't have happened. So it's okay to take credit, and you're way too modest sometimes. But brilliant stuff.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your name again? Commissioner Hurd.
Our ecosystem restoration department has indeed been a shining star for the last 20 or 30 years, pioneering change to improve water quality. I mean, 42 stormwater treatment projects, 70,000 acres of land and conservation. These are enormous achievements. And now we understand that water quality is really, really complex, and you have a staff that understands it and that's professional about studying it, and you have differences of opinion. We all do. We all think seagrasses are the most important, muck dredging is the most important, septic to sewer is the most important. All of those things are probably equally important. But the thing is that now you have such a mature staff that everybody's working on different components, trying to get the water right. And in recent years, the DEP has been our biggest, best partner. We're leveraging, for every dollar that we spend, we get $5 from the DEP, or we get $10 from DEP. We get a lot of money from DEP for really innovative projects. And one of the reasons, the main reason, I think, that we have been so fortunate to receive those big DEP grants is because of John Mayall. Relationships matter. Design matters. Having projects ready to go when a grant becomes available matters. So good job. Great job, as a matter of fact.
Thank you.
Your 15-year no-compete matters.
I'm fine with that.
Anyone else like to heap praise on Mr. Mill? Mr. Donaldson.
Mike, Don.
The last slide on water quality monitoring, I think, is important too, just to point out that when we started this 20-plus years ago, that one of the first things that the county did was engaged in some water quality monitoring with the Water Management District. And the Water Management District at the time only did it for like 1 year. And there was the St. Lucie Issues team. They wanted to continue it, but it wasn't within their budget. So the Martin County was the actual applicant under the St. Lucie Issues Team for a couple $1 million worth of monitoring. So the legislature appropriated it to Martin County, and then through an interlocal, we gave the money to the district to help do the modeling. And that was, if you remember, we had that monitoring is what came up with what we called the Dirty Dozen. You know, with Gary Roderick, and he would take that around the Dirty Dozen, which kind of started that level of sophistication of where are we going to invest in the streams that are the most polluted, and how we track that. And that has actually continued on to this date, and kind of got reinvigorated with John too, and some of his staff of really pinpointing and updating that monitoring, and using other people's money to do it is also brilliant. And you also see it in the coastal system. You know, our turtle monitoring has gone on for decades. Even then, there are some years when we didn't have to do it. We kept these unbroken records, which wound up being used in things like LOSUM and other things where we have the data to support, one, the level of sophistication to deal with on the federal level of projects, but also in-house to continue to refine what we're doing. So I think it's just kind of the nerd engineer side of me is really one of the cool aspects I wanted to pull out.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, very much, you and the team.
My pleasure, thank you.
Okay. With that, I believe that was our, what?
So now what?
Yes. Let's sing a song. We're now at the end of our official agenda. I would take 5:05 public comment from the public. Seeing no one interested in addressing us at this time, I would come back to the board. Commissioner Smith, anything? Commissioner Heatherington? Commissioner Jenkins? Commissioner Hurd?
I'm set.
Mr. Donaldson? Birthday girl Elise Elder?
How do you know people's birthdays?
It's part of, I know everything, and it's part of what I do.
It was the flowers being carried up the elevator.
I didn't see any flowers. I didn't see did you get flowers today? I did. That's very sweet. Very nice. And so nice of Miss Woods to be out of town, so you have the opportunity to have Queen for the day. And we've had Monica sitting in with Layla today. Such a pleasure to have you. With that, I believe that will be the end of our meeting. I will tell you that our next commission meeting is Tuesday, October 24th, and we will see you then. Thank you.